We'd like to introduce one more panelist. This is an addition. We have Emerson Bartel. Thanks for joining us, Emerson. Emerson is another local young man who we've worked with that we'd like to join the panel. So if you can welcome Emerson as well. Okay, so this next kind of 45 minutes to an hour or so is supposed to be really a conversation. So hopefully not too many of our slides and us up here talking, but really a conversation about life's transitions. And many of us in the room have gone through lots of life's transitions. And with our children and young men, there are many, the going to daycare for the first time, going to school for the first time, going to high school. But today we're going to focus on another big one that anecdotally our families have told us have been one of the hardest transitions, which is transitioning to adulthood and to adult care. Okay. So we can move on. We've already did the introductions. Oh, we have to move on, don't we? Do you have it? This one? Okay. Awesome. We don't have any disclosures. All right. So as a rehab doc, these are some of the ones that we focus on in clinic. As was mentioned before, we work here in Ottawa at CHEO, but also at the Ottawa Hospital. And we have a bit of a unique way that we approach transition to adulthood that we're going to talk about. So I will focus a bit on the medical piece. And Tara Previl, my colleague, who really is a trailblazer in transition to adult care, will talk about what I think is more of the fun stuff, which is school, vocation, finance, home, independence, social, fun camps that you might have heard of or have a chance to be a part of. So we're going to talk about these things. And then after that, we really want Eric and Emerson to tell us about their journeys. Neither of them actually had a chance to be part of our transition clinic, but that's okay. I want to hear about everyone's journey in different ways that they've walked through this transition to adulthood. All right, so I'm going to speak about the medical part. And there's a lot of words up there, and I'm sorry for that, but it is really just to showcase a little bit about what it feels like to have a team in your pediatric center that feels really cozy, right? So you have lots of people, lots of letters up there, right? You've got a neurologist, a primary neurologist is probably starting to talk to you about the diagnosis and treatment of steroids. We have respirology. You've heard from our lovely endocrinologist, cardiologist. Hopefully get to meet a rehab doc or a developmental pediatrician that works with young men with Duchenne. We have orthopedic surgeon, orthotists that help make braces, our wonderful health professional colleagues, so occupational therapists, physiotherapists, social workers, dietitian, nurses. So lots of folks. And at CHEO, we're actually all under one roof. And even we have a multi-D clinic that hopefully many of you here in Ottawa have had a chance to meet all the folks there. And a lot of other centers across Canada that I've traveled and visited during my fellowship have a similar model. But then what happens, right? You turn 18 and it's a little bit, I mean, Eric and Emerson, I'm not sure if you had this, but what happens at 18? It's a bye-bye, right? Maybe you had less of a bye-bye, but.
Yeah. So definitely at 18, it becomes, you're basically out on your own, pretty much.
Yeah,
is what happens. Because you're in the clinic for the whole time, and then it's like, here you go. Here's a whole bunch of different doctors that it's your responsibility to reach out to them. And definitely it was probably 16 or 17, you need to start preparing for excuse me, for turning 18. Because I think I remember that was a big deal in our house, was the dreaded 18, because that's when it's all going to change. But yeah, as long as you're prepared, make sure you know the different clinics, the separate clinics, because I have a separate clinic for cardiology, endocrinology, the breath stuff, breathing, and all that stuff is all very different, but it is possible if you're prepared for it.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of forms you have to sign too.
Forms, yeah. Lots of paperwork.
Yeah.
That's true. So this is why we're trying to start talking about medical transition as well as school, vocation, home, social. We start talking about this at 13. Okay, we try to do this in our multidisciplinary clinics. And the actual transfer of care to adulthood happens somewhere between 17 and 18. Okay, so for our rehab professionals, so myself and Tara, we have a clinic both at CHEO, but also at the Ottawa Hospital. So we have some familiar folks essentially catching you on the other side, okay? And that's very unique to Ottawa. I know that that's not a similar model that's seen across the country. You might have different models where you have some adult neurologists or adult physiatrists or all sorts of different professionals, even respirologists, cardiologists, come to the pediatric center and meet you there for the first time. There are different ways that we see this happen across the country, but this is something that was piloted in Ottawa for many different conditions. DMD started about 5 years ago when I started in 2018, where Tara and I were able to see our young men there, and we can follow to at least 22, okay? What happens after that is that we do hand over from a rehab perspective to our adult rehab docs, our physiatrists, Dr. Anton and Dr. Dejeji. And really by then we hope that we've touched on making sure that all the medical professionals have been transitioned so that everyone has a neurologist who's continuing to manage the steroids, has a bone health doctor, has a cardiologist, making sure everything is going well in terms of testing and making sure the heart health is good, as well as a respirologist. But that really spreads out, right? Here in Ottawa, that can be at 3 different hospitals to see all those folks, as opposed to having everything under one roof. And I know that that can be very daunting, but we're hopeful that with us being there, catching folks on the other side, we can help them with that. So that's just the medical piece. But now I want the more fun stuff. Let's talk about that stuff. Oh, here we go. A couple more LMNOPs, a couple more wonderful professionals that I had already essentially spoke about, but it's really important that you do have a family doctor that needs to be your quarterback. Okay, so you might be used to having your neurologist or your developmental pediatrician, rehab doc kind of be your quarterback in terms of following your care and making sure that you've been plugged into having all the professionals following you. But on an adult side, it's really important that the family doc's also aware of this. So making sure you get a family doctor as soon as possible, because they're often in the know and understand what professionals are out there in case you need to be plugged into one and haven't found one. Some other professionals, like occupational therapists, similar to Tara, but on the adult side that are prescribing mobility devices or doing some augmentative communication. That happens in Ottawa at the Ottawa Hospital. It'd be different in different centers. And often one part that we see is a bit more difficult in the adult side is you're really seen as an as-needed basis in some of these clinics. And that's a real big difference than just coming in for your yearly checkups. So really making sure that we have a quarterback, someone has a pulse on all the providers that you're following is really important. And here that's done at the rehab center. Okay, I'm gonna stop with that piece. Okay, this is the more fun part in my opinion.
Perfect. And I'm going to rely on Emerson and Eric to help me out with this. So we just heard about the medical transfer of care. Around the same time, we often leave high school and enter post-secondary. So that can be a time of great excitement and a lot of change. So here in Ottawa, we're really lucky because we have a fairly unique service that's attached to Carleton University and Algonquin. And I think I'm going to get Eric and Emerson to speak a little bit about that in a second. But when you're planning on going to post-secondary, it's going to be really important to reach out to the accessibility services to find out how that university or college can best support you. So I do find that they're quite excellent at providing the support, but the onus is really on the young adult to ask for it. So it's a little bit different from high school when you may have resource teachers, your parents advocating for your needs. When you move on to college or university, you need to be independent and ask for the support that's going to make you successful. And they always love it for you to be organized and meet with them in advance so that they can really prepare you and set you up for success rather than trying to meander through and maybe have some challenges. It's a lot harder to put those supports in place after the fact. So Emerson or Eric, do you want to talk about why Carleton and Algonquin are a little bit unique about some of the services they offer?
They provide attendant care when you live in the resident buildings. I went to Algonquin. I know Eric goes to Carleton. Anyway, they provide, it's self-directed care. So you have to know what you need and you're gonna direct usually anyway, when I went there, it was mostly students actually that that did the care, and so you have to teach them your routine.
Yep. Yeah. So it's sort of the same at Carleton because I think Carleton Algonquin, it's the same program. And so, yeah, you schedule your wake ups and your bedtimes. Sorry, just getting over a cold, living on campus for the first 2 weeks, stuff goes around. Yeah, so you schedule that stuff, but yeah, it's even better than that. Like you can schedule your meal times and they'll come to the CAF and help you get your food, feed yourself, all that stuff. I'm sorry. And yeah, you can also, even if like there's one time I was in the residence quad, I dropped something on the ground. I just gave them a call. They found me. They came and picked it up. Obviously, there's like an order to the importance of your phone call. So like washroom calls are the number one thing, but yeah, they're really great at all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're really lucky here in Ottawa. That's a free service. If you have an Ontario health card and you qualify, you get into Carleton or Algonquin. So that would be important if you are looking at post-secondary to determine what supports are available at whatever college or university you're considering going to. Some other colleges and universities here in Ottawa, they would link you up with community service to provide that. So it's not going to be something set up in-house. Accessibility of campuses are really important to consider as well. We're lucky again at Carleton, they have a wonderful tunnel system so you can avoid winter. You don't need to wear a winter jacket. And if you have mobility challenges, you can really navigate around campus without going outside and dealing with the snow. They have a wonderful accessible residence room. And those are some of the things that you're going to be able to look into when you're planning for that transition. I've included a transition resource guide, and it's specific for students with disabilities, and it talks about all of the options of publicly funded colleges and universities within Ontario and provides information about accessibility, resident supports, and student services.
Unfortunately, at Algonquin, they didn't have a good tunnel to go from the residence to the school, but once you're on the school, they have more bridges. And so then you don't have to go back outside.
That's true. You had to face winter.
Yeah.
You weren't able to ignore it. So another transition that is common during this time frame is transition into the world of employment. So I've heard firsthand from a lot of my young adults that this can be really challenging. So a couple of supports that are available, certainly within the province of Ontario, are the Ontario Employment Centres. I really encourage people to reach out, make appointments, go see what type of supports they can be set up. Another local organization is YSB, the Youth Services Bureau, and they focus on teens and young adults that have challenges entering in the workforce. And so they also provide some extra support. I'm not sure if either of you have had any interactions with ODSP employment supports. Yeah, so that's something that can be accessed starting at age 16, even though we know ODSP is a typical financial benefit that's in place at 18 for people with disabilities. The employment support program can be accessed at 16 by calling and self-referring. Were you, Emerson, I know you're working, you're done
Yeah.
school. Yeah, did you require any extra support?
Well, I did at the rehab center. They do have a vocation therapist.
Yeah.
Her name is Hana, and she helped kind of inspire me, and she also gives out more resources on like how to bring up your disability when you work. There's no one answer. It's whatever you feel comfortable doing. ODSP did give me, they give like a $600 like first time working benefit, and you can go out and get more clothes. The first time I was working, I went and bought a new suit with it. Anyway, you can do it, I think, every 2 years. So I got a suit, and I was working at H&R Block doing taxes. And this time I'm now working in a financial department for a non-for-profit organization, L'Arche Canada, doing finance stuff again. And I was able to use that money to get more work shirts.
That's excellent. I've heard of other clients access funds to get accessible equipment to facilitate entry into the workplace. So maybe a height adjustable desk, maybe a Bluetooth earbud so that they can answer the phones
Yeah.
hands-free. So that's a really helpful program that we can access here in Ontario.
Currently, I work at home, so I haven't needed any equipment in the workplace.
Yeah, you're well set up then. The other option for college and university students is our FSWEP program. So that's the Federal Student Work Experience Program. And when you go to the application page, they will ask you if you have a disability, and they also try to facilitate people with disabilities into the workplace. So that's a wonderful summer program for students. If you are working on site, the other thing you're going to want to consider is putting in attendant care supports if you require it so that you can be successful in the workplace. And here locally, we have an organization that provides attendant care supports in the community, at college universities, and in the workplace called, it's through VHA. So we're talking a lot about independence, and this can be a really scary and a really exciting time. So I always like to kind of take a stepladder approach to work on these skills before you're actually immersed in it. So I'm going to ask you two kind of what skills you think are important. I'll read what I have on the list first, though. But things to consider, maybe in high school age, is learning about public transportation in your town or city, getting comfortable with accessible transportation, navigating unfamiliar places. I know some of the colleges, the universities are huge, and when you land there, it's really tough to kind of figure out where you are and how to get around. Spending time home alone, having the equipment that you need to make sure that you're safe. So access to cell phones, tablets that you can call. Making sure that maybe there's automatic door openers so that you can come and go more independently. Electronic controls of daily living. We have wonderful, fairly inexpensive options nowadays to control lights, to control your television through your cell phones. Making sure you're comfortable ordering and managing your medications. And so oftentimes when you're at home with your parents, that's a job that the parents take over. And so if you are planning on moving out, making sure that you understand how to do that is really important. Budgeting and money management. And this is a tool that I don't know if they teach this in school, but everyone needs to know it. So getting comfortable using a debit card in the community, understanding how much money you're going to have per month to live on. If you have a meal plan at university, how does that look? How are you going to access it? And then as Eric had said, getting comfortable with directing your own care. So that could be with unfamiliar people. So I find when you're at home, you have this unspoken dance with your parents where you don't need to clarify how you want your care set up and managed. But when you're meeting new people, you do need to specify step by step how you want things done so that it's safe and you're happy. Is there anything else that I'm missing to help with independence?
No, I don't think
No.
so. I definitely remembering to order medications is one
Yes.
thing that is very, very important. And knowing where to pick them up is also, yeah, and definitely like figuring out meal plans. I mean, there's what I do right now is Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
So they're in pretty much every major city.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically what I do myself is I order the frozen meals. And so I myself, like I can toss them in the microwave and make my own dinner that way. And then go to the cafeteria if I need extra stuff. I'm not on the meal plan this year because it's my last year. And so I'm trying to figure out how to be a bit more meal planning myself for once I'm in the workforce.
Yeah.
And yeah, so definitely like figuring out meals for yourself and medication are pretty important.
Yeah. Before I went to college, I had some PSWs through well, I guess it's called LIN now, Local Hospital Integration Network. And that was very helpful in me learning how to train people. And I could do it while I was still at home. And so if there was an incident, my parents could help me out. And I thought that that was very helpful.
Mhm. And some of these skills definitely can be worked on at home. You brought up a good point, Emerson. You're at home, you're learning how to direct your care with unfamiliar people. If you don't have PSWs coming in, you can text your parents about when you want your care, when it's time to go to bed, and you kind of take that initiative to let them know the timing, unless they want to go to bed first, and then, then you're out of luck. We'll go to the next slide. I just wanted to briefly mention, throughout Ontario, through the Children's Treatment Centers, they do offer some overnight residential camp activities to learn some of these independent skills. And so I know Holland Bloorview in Toronto offers the Independence Program, which is a 3-week residential stay at a local college or university where kids with physical disabilities can learn some of these skills and real life experiences. And we've put in place a program very similar here in Ottawa, where we get a group of young adults and teens that live at either Carleton or Algonquin and work on these wonderful skills, lots of new learning, lots of problem solving, and lots of time to make mistakes. Because I really feel that people need to get on the wrong bus and go the wrong direction and have that ability to problem solve, because that's going to take them far in life and how to get themselves out of those jams. So we ran it before COVID, and we're really hopeful this summer we're going to do it again. And excuse my typo, I forgot that summer 2024 has already happened. So we're hoping to get it up and running here for 1 week in summer 25.
Yeah, I graduated from Bloom in 2017.
You did, yeah. And it's a nice dry run. So we've got support from CHEO staff that helps with programming. We use the attendant care service to provide support throughout the day and overnight. And the kids get to learn the campus, they get to learn the buses. It's really nice, especially if you don't live in town. So you can kind of have a practice experience with some safety nets. The other thing I just wanted to briefly mention, at our transition clinic visits, we do like to reference a transition resource guide that Complex Care Ontario has put out, and it talks a little bit more about appropriate resources and timing. So ODSP, that's a financial benefit that you're able to apply at 17 and a half, hoping that the paperwork will go through until 18. A disability tax credit. Oftentimes families have that. Sometimes it does stop around 18 and you do have to recomplete the paperwork. So that's true what Emerson said about lots of paperwork. And then the child can determine whether they'll want to claim the benefit or whether the family still claims it. Community services. And so when you're leaving school, determining what type of PSW support can remain in place, whether you're at home or at school. And 211, and I know Dr. Alazem talked about the importance of finding a family doctor. So Eric and Emerson, is there anything else that is important for people to know, or does anyone have questions in the audience? Emerson, do you want to talk a little bit about the funding support you access now for your PSWs, your attending
Well,
care?
yes, that would be. Yeah, I'm currently on the direct funding program run through the, it's the Ontario Long-Term Health, and it's run through a Center for Independent Living in Toronto. They also have many local centers. Yeah, so basically they interview you and they'll end up giving you money so that you can go out and hire your own attendants. And I've been doing that for the past 3 years now. I have a lovely group of staff. Yeah, but it's important to, like, you're a self-manager, so you have to know all the rules for employment, and you have to run your own payroll. They do provide money for a bookkeeper, but it was a good thing I went to school for bookkeeping, so that's helped out. And yeah.
And that allows you to live at home and to kind of have all of the support that you need.
Yeah.
That program is also available if you do live in the community as well, and it's across Canada, or sorry, across Ontario.
Yeah, across Ontario. I don't live here in Ottawa. I actually live in Arnprior, which is 45 minutes west. So I'm just outside of the city. So yeah, it works and allows me to be at home. Unfortunately, it's hard finding places to rent and that are affordable. So that is one of the reasons I am at home. And also my parents feed me, so that's good.
It's always important.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, thank you so much for being here today and talking, because as the mother of an 11-year-old, it's it's important to hear all these things. And I just think you're both wonderful. So thank you for being here and just sharing your experiences. And also, I'm nowhere near the transition point, but I'm honestly sitting here in panic going, I'm hearing find a doctor. And that has to be, I'm just going to say it. It is an awful experience. I've been searching now for about 4 years for one. So I'm just wondering, my question is being that with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, my son, is that taken into consideration when they are transferring out into an adulthood? Are there doctors available that will take children, going into adulthood? Or is it kind of,
ممنونة. دكتور خانم شایدی کی
In
میاد
Canada, we have
چند
been
دهلو
process
امروز نیست
to have enough family doctors, folks staying in
خود
place,
جاش
recruiting new family
الله
doctors.
هم توی یه دون برنامه بود با
And there's
توشن باش داشتم که
concern.
فیلماشو
Translation is
بفرسته
not
خواستم سرشم
something
ایمیل رو داره
at least not in Ontario anyways, for sure, in terms of medical complexity and those that need doctors the most. That is not something that we see. But what we do try, and this is one reason why we're trying to bring this up right away, is to try our best to look for family doctors way before 18. So what you're doing right now, I know it's very frustrating because you haven't found one, is the way to go. Then what we do in our clinic is we do keep a pulse. So you'll hear it, Mireille's nodding her head. The second we have a family practice that's open, for our boys anyways, in our clinic, we send out whoever doesn't have a family doctor, go. Doesn't matter if you have a general pediatrician, doesn't matter if you're followed by CHEO. I'm not even too fussed if you will never set foot in that office until you start talking about transition, but let's get you on the list and let's get you in, okay? Sometimes that eases the transfer of care. You know, there might be some family docs that hear, oh, you see 6 specialists. You must be very complex. Well, everybody's complex, right? Actually, you have 6 specialists that are doing a wonderful job taking care of you and keeping you in the loop as a primary care doctor, right? So we try our best to really empower the family doctors, making sure, you know what, everything is well taken care of from a Duchenne perspective, but hey, could you be there for other conversations? Could you be there for vaccines? Could you be there for some of the other common conditions that you follow? So we really try to empower, and I write to the family doctors very early on and really make them feel as part of the team. So at 13 years of age, the family docs are getting a complete medical summary and rehab summary. What that means all the equipment that they're using, any funding that we're looking at, any renovations that you might be doing, so that they really feel that there's a nice plan in place and they're just a part of the team. They're an integral part of the team, and they will be more and more integral as the years go on. But it is important to have that quarterback. And I'm really hopeful. This is very important for us to do in your community, is to keep advocating for funding, keep advocating for getting our family docs supported, because that is one thing that is a problem for every condition that we see, is that we don't have enough family docs as the quarterback supporting the care. But thank you for bringing that point. And are you local to us in Ottawa? Because we can try to help. Okay, come and see us. Any other questions? Can I ask Emerson, could you talk a little bit about your experience at Bloom Camp? Because we're really excited to have this start up again.
Yeah, well, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, it was great. It was also kind of a dry run because I got to go to Algonquin and I got to spend time with the attendant care there. I also got to learn how to direct my own care, which was really good. And I got to know some of the people that run the attendant services, which was great. We learned how to use the transit services. Because it was at Carleton at the time, I got to go on a bus to Algonquin, and I got to look at how it would work there. Um, I th- One of the things that I'd never done when I went there was I'd never done any laundry. I had no idea how to even do laundry and that, because my parents took care of that. And so we learned how to read laundry labels, like in your clothes, like the tags, which was really good. I think we learned maybe a little bit about cooking, and yeah, we also got to meet a mentor or someone who had been there for a long time at Carleton.
We have, I'm over here, sorry. Another question online for Emerson on how you found the care workers.
Like at Carleton, I guess. Yeah, they're nice. They were helpful. A few of them may come in and like kind of baby talk at you, like, "Oh, how are you doing?" But they learn pretty quickly that we're just students, kind of like them. Yeah, are they now like PSWs now, Eric? Or
They do hire PSWs from outside, but yeah, most of the time it's students that are
Yeah.
the attendants.
so it's also nice to have peers
Yes,
helping you.
Yeah, for sure.
You touched on a really important point. I was kind of hoping we talk a little bit on the social piece too. You know, campus and camps such as Bloom Camp is a wonderful place to also meet others that are maybe going through similar journeys, but also folks that may not be going through similar journeys. And you're doing a wonderful job probably educating them and telling them a bit about your journey. Can you elaborate a little bit about, you know, where you met some new folks? Could you engage in social activities? Were there challenges? Were there exciting times?
Yeah, I think one of the big challenges for me was I was quite shy when I went. However, you know, I had a group of people that I had socialized outside of campus before. They play electric wheelchair hockey with me. So I got to hang out with them, which was really cool. And I mean, we went everywhere. We decided one day just to go on a bus, and we ended up in the Byward Market at a bar. Yeah,
Nice.
my mom enjoyed that phone call. Yeah, one of the problems is the city buses only have 2 wheelchair spots.
Yep.
So there was often races to see who could get on the bus first, and those were fun. I got along with my roommates very well, and I was able to introduce my roommate to hockey as well.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm part of the same hockey as well, and yeah, it's lots of fun. There was one night we went to London for a tournament, which was really fun, and yeah, they're a good group of people. And also, if you're at school, joining clubs, that
Yeah.
stuff that you're interested in. Because of my biology, I joined the biology society and made a bunch of friends through that. So yeah, of course, there's like clubs for boys watching that are in high school that are good, but once you're in university, it's like there's a ton of stuff that you can do, and yeah.
Like that focus on really participating, engaging in the community, both on campus and perhaps off campus. So that's great. Okay. Any last remarks, questions? Well, thank you very much for listening. And thanks to our panelists.